Child psychologist Tina Rae joins us from the UK. Hi, Tina. Thanks so much for speaking to us. It's really kind of fascinating to look at this. I mean, does it concern you at all, or do you think it's a normal kind of evolutionary process of technology that's only kind of worrisome because it's so new?
Well, I think it is new, obviously, but it is worrisome because basically children are not interacting with other children in the same way, face-to-face contact that actually gets that human connection going. And I think as well, there's something very much about them being focused so much on what is online, posting images of themselves. So they're really becoming hyper vigilant. So there's a lack of relaxation, a lack of just switching off, just being content to be in the world, enjoying themselves, relaxing. It's about having to be on it all the time. And I think that's incredibly difficult, and it leads to higher levels of anxiety. Certainly levels of depression that we haven't seen before in this country, in the UK in particular. We are seeing more and more children being admitted into mental health services, referred to our mental health services, and that's really, really concerning. And all of these children are exhibiting real symptoms of anxiety, and many of them, it's directly related to their online behaviours and the impact that that's having on their behaviour, but also on their sleep patterns, on their ability to just interact and be children in the world itself, basically.
Right, because it's so important to note that we're not just talking about phones, we're talking about online behavior because their phones are online. And that gives them really constant exposure, not just to what's on the internet, but this, the social media effect, this constant pressure to be taking selfies all the time, to be posting all the time, to be liked on your Instagram account, on your Facebook account. I mean, expand a little bit more on what kind of pressure that puts on kids today that we didn't have in the past.
A huge amount of pressure. I mean, I work with young women who will basically have their mobile phone at night in bed with them. They don't turn it off. They're checking in every time they wake up to make sure that no one's posted anything about them, something that's detrimental to them, is a put down. If they spend 3-4 hours in the evening, it's not doing homework. It's not going to go out to play in the park or meet friends or socialize. It's basically 3 hours making up, making themselves look stunning, taking photos, and posting those to get likes. And it's almost as though their self-esteem is directly related to the number of likes, the number of people who are actually looking at them online. And I think that's dangerous. And there's also something underlying this that is also very, very concerning for me, and that is that the fact that a lot of the sites that they're accessing, things like TikTok, for example, children under the age of 13 are supposedly not be able to post things on this. Well, of course they are. Children aged 9 and 10 are doing it. And I think for parents in particular, I don't think they're quite aware of the nature of some of these sites and what people are actually doing and the kind of insidious thing that's going on, because there's a lot of pornography out there in particular that I think children are picking up on and getting involved in without parental knowledge, without their parents knowing. And I think parents need to wise up a bit here, because I'm sure actually that many of them don't actually really understand what is accessible and what it looks like. So, you know, they need to learn about parental controls. They need to learn what they can do in order to keep their children safer.
But there's a risk though there, because I remember we talked about parental controls years ago when television was an issue, and some parents were trying to monitor what their kids watched, what movies they saw, and then those kids in turn would go to school and hadn't seen the movies and the TV shows that all the other kids had seen, so their parents, in the interest of trying to protect them, were actually exposing them to bullying because they had children that were really out of the cultural loop. So there's always a flip side to that too. But I need to ask you before you go if there is an upside to at least some of this, because I know parents who actually love that if they have a slightly hyperactive child, for example, having a phone at a restaurant, you know, during dinner to keep them entertained is just the perfect way to keep their child calmer and happy. And it's win-win. Do you see any upside here?
I don't particularly see that as an upside, because I think actually children should be able to sit at the table and actually converse with their parents and be entertained in different ways. I get it though. I know sometimes you need to do that as a fallback position, but I do think there are advantages, many in terms of actually engaging with others over in that forum, but also sharing of knowledge, sharing of ideas. There are lots of apps out there I get some of my kids to use, such as Calm app, the Mood Busters, etc., etc. And these are all things like using CBT techniques, mindfulness. So there are things online that are really useful, but I think we've got to be careful about this argument, oh no, everyone else is doing it. I'm always saying to parents, now wait, you've got to think about this. Who is the parent in the relationship here? Because actually you need to be saying to your child, this is not on. We all need a digital detox. I'm going to put my phone away for the next 3 hours and so are you. And we're going to do other things and we're going to connect with each other. And I think it's all about balance, basically.
Okay, Tina Rae, great to have you. Thanks so much for joining us there. We appreciate it.